She walked out on me for her broke ex, and everyone, her friends, her sister, even the neighbors, whispered that I'd come crawling back, begging. They thought I'd crumble. They thought I'd fold. But 4 months later, when she tried to return, my smile and her tears said everything. Before I dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment. Your support keeps these stories alive. That Thursday evening started like a victory lap. I'd just sealed a promotion I'd chased for years, pulled into our driveway with a bag of takeout and a plan that felt bigger than me. I'd been working late, grinding through weekends, chipping away at endless deadlines, all with this idea that I was building something solid for both of us. The house was quiet, not peaceful quiet, but the kind that sits heavy on your shoulders. Usually, Lauren would be on the couch with the TV glowing in the background. Instead, she stood alone in the kitchen, staring out the window like the world outside had suddenly stopped. The lights above her flickered against her hair, and there was this cold stillness in her posture. "Long day?" I asked, setting my keys down. She turned slowly. Her face looked stretched thin, like she'd been rehearsing something she didn't want to say. "Mark," she murmured, "we need to talk." My chest tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "All right, what's going on?" She crossed her arms, not angrily, defensively. "I think we should separate." The words didn't slam into me the way people describe. They landed quiet, deliberate, almost practiced. Separate? Out of nowhere. It's not out of nowhere. I've been thinking about this for weeks. Weeks. While I'd been killing myself at work to give us a better life, she'd been planning her exit. "Is there someone else?" I asked. She hesitated. Too long. "It's not like that," she whispered. "It's just, Nathan needs me right now." Nathan, her ex-husband from college. The one she swore was ancient history. "He lost everything," she continued. "His business tanked. His divorce drained him. He needs support." "So you're leaving your husband," I said calmly. "To go help your ex?" She swallowed hard. "You don't need me the way he does." The audacity hung in the air like smoke. She had no idea I'd spent the week arranging a surprise. A brand new car waiting at the dealership with her name on the paperwork. I almost laughed at how absurd it suddenly felt. But I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't even raise my voice. I just walked to the drawer, pulled out a notepad, and wrote down a number. "If you're serious," I said, sliding the paper toward her, "call this attorney Monday. I won't stand in your way." Her eyes widened. She'd expected a fight, tears, shouting, something dramatic. Instead, I gave her nothing but quiet. "That's it?" she asked. "You're not even going to try?" "You just told me another man needs you more than your own husband," I replied. "What exactly is there to fight for?" She didn't answer. She just stared at me like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. And maybe she didn't. I grabbed my keys. "I'll be out for a while," I said. "If you're really leaving, be packed by the time I get back." "You're being dramatic," she snapped. "No," I told her, opening the door. "I'm being efficient." I drove for hours, trying to make sense of the kind of betrayal you don't see coming even when it's right in front of you. When I returned, half her things were gone. A note on the counter said she'd be staying with Nathan. I threw it in the trash without reading it twice. The next morning, the silence in the house felt unfamiliar, like stepping into a life that didn't belong to me anymore. But it didn't break me. If anything, it hardened something inside me that had been soft for too long. And I didn't know it yet, but that hardened silence would become my sharpest weapon. By Sunday morning, the house felt strangely peaceful, like it had finally exhaled after years of holding its breath. I made pancakes, brewed coffee the way I liked it for once, and let the quiet settle around me instead of fighting it. Around noon, my neighbor, an older woman named Martha, knocked on my door. She never bothered with pleasantries. "I saw Lauren leaving with suitcases yesterday," she said. "Everything all right?" "We're separating," I answered. Her eyebrows shot up, but she didn't pretend to be surprised. "Well," she muttered, "that explains the lunches." "The what?" She leaned in like she was passing state secrets. For at least 2 months, some man's been picking her up in different cars while you're at work. Always around lunchtime. 2 months. So while I was killing myself for that promotion, she was eating sandwiches with her ex. Thanks for telling me, I said. You're better off, dear, Martha replied softly. That afternoon, I called the attorney whose number I'd written on the notepad, Richard Blake, a guy a coworker trusted after his own messy split. We set a meeting for Monday morning. And for the first time in weeks, I did something for myself. I called my friend Jack and asked if he wanted a beer. About time, he said. Thought your wife had you locked in a tower. Not anymore, I replied. When I walked into Murphy's bar, Jack raised his glass and smirked. Well, freedom looks good on you. What happened? I kept it short. His face twisted somewhere between shock and disgust. She left you for Nathan? The guy who tripped over his own shoelaces at your wedding. That's the guy. And she said he needed her more than you? Jack shook his head. Buddy, that's not need. That's manipulation with a side of nostalgia. We spent 2 hours talking about sports, work, old stories, everything except my marriage. I didn't realize how long it had been since I'd had a conversation that wasn't monitored, corrected, or criticized. When I got home, I had 3 missed calls from Lauren and 2 voicemails. I ignored them. I ordered a pizza with every topping she hated and ate it right in the living room. The next day, I met with Richard. He listened quietly, took notes, and finally said, no kids, separate finances, clear abandonment. This will be a simple case. She's staying with her ex. I added. He nodded. That actually helps. Makes intent obvious. I signed the initial paperwork and walked out of his office feeling lighter than I had any right to feel. Work became easier too. Without the constant emotional static waiting for me at home, my mind felt sharper. My supervisor stopped by my desk midweek. You've been focused lately, she said. Feels good to work without distractions, I told her. That Thursday night, I was stirring pasta sauce when my phone rang again. Lauren. Again. I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. Finally, I answered. What? Please don't hang up, she said quickly. Her voice sounded strained, almost shaky. I need to talk to you. Talk. Things with Nathan aren't what I expected. I didn't respond. He's not as grateful as I thought. And some of the things he told me about his business, they don't add up. Still, I said nothing. I think I made a mistake. Might have. Okay, she choked out. I made a mistake. A big one. But we can fix this, right? I turned off the burner and leaned against the counter. When you left, I said evenly, did you think about what it would do to me? Of course I did. No. You thought about Nathan. You thought about what you wanted. That's it. That's not fair, she whispered. Fair is a funny word for you to use. She was silent. Then, softly, can I come home? No, just that. No explanations. No anger. No softness. I hung up. I watched the steam rise from my pan and felt calm. Friday evening, Jack called. Dinner tonight? There's a new steakhouse downtown. We met there, and for the first time in months, I ordered exactly what I wanted. Medium rare, no compromises. You look relaxed, Jack said. I feel relaxed. Makes sense, he laughed. You've been walking on eggshells for years. On the way home, I realized something surprising. I wasn't grieving. I wasn't mourning. I wasn't waiting for her to come back. I was simply free. A few weeks passed, and her calls went from occasional to frantic. Missed call after missed call, voicemails stacking up like unpaid bills. I didn't answer a single one. Then one evening, Martha knocked again. I hate to pry, she said, which meant she absolutely loved prying. But I saw your ex at the grocery store. She looked awful. Okay. She was yelling at someone on the phone in the parking lot. My cousin works at the bank. Apparently your ex tried to cash a check that bounced. Something about a loan she gave someone. A loan. To Nathan. Perfect. When Lauren called that night, I answered. Stop calling me, I said. Please, she cried. Just 5 minutes. You have too. Nathan's gone. He took the money and disappeared. I used our joint savings to help him, and now I can't pay my bills. I'm staying at a weekly motel. I don't know what to do. Call your family. I did. They won't help. Not my problem. Please, she whispered. Just let me crash on the couch until I know why. What would it hurt? Because you're not my responsibility. She broke again, and I let her cry until she realized I wasn't budging. I hung up, put my phone on silent, and went to bed. The next morning, I went to a small coffee shop for breakfast. The barista, a kid named Milo, smiled. The usual? Surprise me, I said. I sat by the window and watched the world move, slow, steady, unbothered. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged in it. I checked my phone. A message from Richard, divorce papers ready for review. I texted back one word, on my way. As I walked to my car, I realized something simple and sharp. I was starting to enjoy my life again. And all of it, every peaceful breath, was mine alone. 3 months after she walked out, my life had settled into a rhythm I didn't even know I'd been missing. Mornings were calm, the house stayed clean, work felt easier, and for the first time in years my mind wasn't tangled in someone else's chaos. The calls from Lauren finally stopped, and the silence that followed didn't feel empty, it felt earned. A week later, Jack called with news. You remember my girlfriend, Rachel? Works at that diner off First Street. Yeah, your ex is working there now. Double shifts. Looks rough. I paused only long enough to breathe in. All right, he asked, baffled. Man, don't you feel anything? I do, I said. I feel distance. And that distance felt like steel. Days later, my attorney called. They'd finally managed to serve Lauren at the rundown studio she was renting. Assuming she doesn't contest, he said, this will be final soon. I thanked him and hung up, realizing how far I'd come from the man who once tried to surprise her with a new car. That weekend, I walked into the Tesla dealership. The salesman recognized me immediately. Back again? Ready for the Model Y you looked at? No, I said. Something else. Something for me. We spent 2 hours exploring models until I settled on a midnight blue Model S. Sleek, quiet, powerful in a way that didn't need to brag. The keys felt right in my hand, like they belonged there all along. I drove home with the windows cracked, the cool air cutting through months of old memories. On Sunday afternoon, while I was washing the Tesla in the driveway, I saw an old Honda pull up. I didn't recognize the driver, but I recognized the passenger, her sister, Megan. She stepped out, crossed her arms, and looked at me with a mixture of frustration and desperation. We need to talk, she said. No, I replied. You need to talk. I'm fine. She's hurting, she snapped. She's working 2 jobs, she barely eats. She's dropping weight fast. You really don't care. She's your family, I said calmly. You deal with it. You used to care about her. I used to be married to her. There's a difference. She made a mistake. She made a choice. I corrected. And she doubled down on that choice every step of the way. Megan's expression shifted, frustration folding into disbelief. You've changed. Yes, I said. And I'm not changing back. She didn't argue. She just walked back to the Honda, and as it pulled away, I saw Lauren in the passenger seat. Thinner, tired, eyes hollow. I felt nothing but the cool breeze against my face. That night, I called my parents for the first time in a long while. We talked about normal things, work, weather, weekend plans. My mother said, "You sound lighter." I am. And it was true. I was lighter without her weight around my neck. Weeks passed. The divorce finalized quietly, and I continued rebuilding my life piece by piece. Then, late one rainy Tuesday night, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I looked through the peephole, I saw a whole delegation standing on my porch. Lauren, her mother, her sister, a friend I didn't recognize, and a man in a suit holding a briefcase. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. Evening, I said. Lauren looked nothing like the woman I once knew. Her clothes hung loose, her eyes were rimmed with shadows, and the rain made her hair cling to her face like wilted straw. "Can we come in?" she asked softly. "No," I said, "but you can talk." The man in the suit stepped forward. "I'm attorney Peter Malone. We're here to discuss a possible reconciliation." I actually laughed. "A reconciliation? You hired a lawyer for this?" Her mother spoke next, voice trembling. "She knows she messed up. She's been punished enough." "Punished?" I asked. "She's working. That's not punishment. That's life." "She still loves you," her mother insisted. "No," I said. "She loves the idea of being rescued." Megan stepped forward. "She regrets everything. She understands what she lost." I shook my head slowly. "She doesn't regret what she did. She regrets the consequences." Lauren stepped closer, rain dripping off her chin. "Mark, I'm begging you. I have nowhere left to go." I stepped out onto the porch, letting the rain hit my shoulders while they all stared at me. "For months ago," I said evenly, "you walked out because you thought another man needed you more than your husband. You drained our savings, you lied, you hid things, you made choice after choice after choice. And now that everything you gambled on collapsed, you want to come back to the man you threw away like a spare part." Tears mixed with the rain on her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. And I'm saying no." Her lawyer opened his briefcase. "We can discuss financial." "Shut that," I said sharply. "There's no negotiation here." She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said. "You gave up your place in this home the night you walked out." "Where am I supposed to go?" she cried. "What am I supposed to do?" "What every other adult does," I replied. "You figure it out." They stood there in the rain, clinging to the hope that I'd crack. I didn't. After a moment, I added, "Don't come here again." Then I closed the door. Through the window, I watched them hesitate, then return to their cars one by one. The rain kept falling, steady, cleansing. Inside, the house felt warm, quiet mine. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat down, and listened to the rain fade into the background. It was the first night in months I knew, really knew, that the silence would last. And I welcomed it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them.